So, today I want to talk about Telltale Games and how it seems like they're already dead before they even had the chance to come back to life. But before we get into that, I want to talk about something that just happened on this channel. We broke the all-time views for one day in one video, over 10,000 views. Thank you all so much. For some reason, this video randomly blew up on Reddit and it just took off. So, hey, I appreciate every single person that watched that video. It's crazy just what randomly happens on YouTube sometimes, just getting all these views out of nowhere. And it wasn't even the YouTube algorithm that did it, it was Reddit. So thank you to r/videos for promoting my video and it getting the amount of attention that it got. It really means a lot. So, yeah, Telltale Games. So you guys know that it was about, back in 2018, Telltale Games shut down. I remember they were in the middle of the final season of their Walking Dead series, and they weren't actually finished with it yet, but they had to shut down because there just wasn't enough money left to continue operating. So they laid off pretty much everybody. Skybound Games was able to buy the rights for The Walking Dead, and they were able to finish the final season at least. But as far as all the other Telltale series were concerned, we had Batman, Game of Thrones, which were supposed to get sequels, Guardians of the Galaxy, Minecraft Story Mode, and yeah, Telltale, they just did too much. They were spending all this money acquiring all these licenses, and it didn't pay off for them because they just weren't getting the money that they were expecting to. They grew too much too fast after The Walking Dead. They were making all these games at a very frequent pace, and people were starting to get tired of Telltale Games, and the quality of the games were very questionable at times. But then a few months later, after Telltale Games shut down, there was a new company that acquired the rights to Telltale. They were pretty much a brand new company, and the people in charge of the old Telltale had nothing to do with the new one. Kind of like THQ Nordic using the THQ name, even though it is not the original THQ, it's a different company. Same kind of thing there. And we didn't hear anything about them for about 5 years until I think it was about 2 or 3 months ago that they released their first game called The Expanse. It is a video game adaptation. I think it's a prequel for the TV show that is also called The Expanse. And it's a show I never watched, and I didn't really know anything about it. I was still going to buy the game, though, to support the new Telltale, and, it was like, I really want Batman Season 3. That's what I really want to have, so I figured supporting the company now, while they're trying to get back into it, there's a chance that they can survive and actually start to make the games that I want from a new Telltale Games. Not saying that I thought The Expanse was going to be bad and that I wouldn't have gotten it regardless, but that was definitely a big motivator for me personally. Well, I was interested in buying it, and then it was an Epic Games exclusive, so that just turned me away because I don't really mess with Epic Games, and I know a lot of PC gamers also don't. And the PC gaming market was a huge source of revenue for Telltale Games, and I thought it was, I didn't think the ends justified the means making it an Epic exclusive. I'm sure Epic was paying them whatever, and they had the deal, but I don't think it ended up really doing anything for them, and it turns out to be true, because just a few weeks after The Expanse released its final episode, Telltale Games, the new Telltale Games, just announced a whole bunch of layoffs. According to a former developer, pretty much the entire team, the vast majority of the developers at the new Telltale were fired, laid off, let go, whatever terminology you want to use. And, we did have a number of layoffs in the video game industry this year. The most notable ones were Epic Games and CD Projekt Red. But since Telltale Games is an upstart, they need certain, they don't really have a lot of money just sitting in the bank to kind of weather the storm when times are tough. So they've just been doing business for 5 years, not creating anything. And when the game that they did make came out, The Expanse, it obviously didn't meet sales expectations. They're supposedly still working on The Wolf Among Us 2. They are saying that Telltale is not dead and that they're still working on the games, but apparently, The Wolf Among Us 2 was already being developed by a very small team. Now the team is even smaller, and it just seems very unlikely, unless they are really deep into development, that game will ever see the light of day. In hindsight, they probably should just come out with The Wolf Among Us 2 as their first title back as Telltale Games, because everyone was so hyped about that. Nobody cared about The Expanse. I didn't hear anything about it, only because I follow Telltale Games on social media do I know about it, but I didn't get any advertising for it on YouTube. I didn't get any hype. No one was talking about this game, Like, nobody, it wasn't even on anyone's radar. It's not like The Expanse is a very hot commodity, like, it's a very hot IP, but they probably, the licensing for it was probably cheap enough. They thought maybe they can get some money out of it. I don't know exactly the terms of the deal that Telltale made with the studio behind The Expanse, but yeah, it obviously didn't work out, sadly. And it seems like they're just running on borrowed time. So we'll never get Batman Season 3. We might never get Wolf Among Us Season 2. And, their other stuff like Game of Thrones Season 2. I thought their Game of Thrones was great, honestly. And Borderlands, Tales from the Borderlands was probably Telltale's best game, but unfortunately, Gearbox decided to take it into their own hands to make a sequel for Tales of the Borderlands, and it was what it was. Let me know what you guys think about this news. Do you think that Telltale can somehow still pull it together and continue operating for years to come, and maybe they'll get the Wolf Among Us out there, and it'll succeed, and that's how they're able to dig themselves out of the hole? I don't know. I'm not very optimistic about that, but anything can happen.